Yo guys, Low Coach Gaming here. So today we're gonna review the patch 25.06. Now I want to keep this kind of fast, a bit nicely paced because people are too bored to watch these long ass videos. So let's just jump into it. Bunch of don't cares for now. Skins, whatever. Vanguard refunds a new ban notification. So you get a notification, you get an LP refund because someone cheated per moment, You also, obviously, it gets displayed what rank you got from the LP. And you also get, obviously, a notification, cheater beamed. You recently reported Mirage of Penguins, so basically it means you get LP and a notification, then someone that cheated get perma ban. Now, that's it, you don't need to read all that. Champion Master, in this patch we are releasing our new Champion Mastery icons, doesn't matter at all. Your shop matters for people that care about skins, but I would buy them, probably buy skins if they're discounted, but otherwise not really a recommender. We can move on, this explains itself. Caitlyn, I don't read this, it doesn't matter. Headshot damage increase versus trap targets, specifically versus trap targets, so it doesn't mean her passive does get increased, right? Now, let's see what does this change do. So from 40 it goes, no actually what? Damage increases versus trap targets, am I dumb? But what? But this is the opposite, because I'm pretty much sure even in PB they said they're gonna nerf it. Headshot damage increases versus trapped targets, right? So it goes from 40 to 30, but this is a decrease. Even percentage wise it's a decrease. Even flat scaling wise it's a decrease. So why do they say it's an increase? Maybe the locations should be swapped. Was it 35 before? I don't know. Maybe these should be swapped if anything, but as I remember it was a nerf on PB. Probably they just made a typo. Ace in the hole, damage early on same, later on 25, last 650. So this generally means after 11 it's gonna be slightly worse, than in the later stages it's gonna be even more worse. The early game damage is the same a lot, this will not matter. More so we get 50 less damage later on, but again, like, it's 25 only. It's generally speaking not a lot even after 11, so I would say her reliability on killing people with R and perhaps her headshot damage obviously on W will be lower, but often this doesn't really matter, because surely it's gonna be lower, but often there is just simply no space to escape. If you get chain CC'd, most of the times you're dead, so maybe there will be niche situations where you survive briefly because these didn't deal enough damage. Moving on, simple nerf, Corki. He banned a hard hitter even after so many nerfs. They're reducing his base armor, so ADCs have a bit of a more breathing room. He can just walk into you guys so easily. Minion aggro gonna deal a bit more damage as well. So the notable thing is he's gonna be less of a fister early on, slightly more vulnerable to physical damage. Let's move on. Darius, specifically jungle nerf, he gonna deal 100% less damage to monster camps. He's clear gonna be worse. Him taking down objectives will be way slower. Generally speaking, they are aiming to sort of nerf jungle Darius. Not completely, because people still have to buy skins because they enjoy jungle Darius, but they have to somewhat nerf it because it's kind of rampaging around with Yomu's Ghostblade Deadmans. Now, in my opinion, it's only OP if it gets overfed, but it's kind of annoying to deal with because people perma in-team junglers don't know how to play into his kit. They just in-team kills thinking they win the duel. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of nice because it's been annoying, but I don't think so it needs to be that hard nerfed in my opinion. It could be a bit of a softer, maybe like a 50% or something, but don't care honestly. Draven no longer gains 2 bonus adoration stacks for every 6 kills. Draven no longer gets I mean, why though? I mean, Draven was kind of whatever. I guess it been a bit too snowbally or something, but I would swear I actually don't quite get why, but whatever. Maybe he's not that snowball in lower ranks or some fucking armor growth decrease. It's gonna be less so tanky as real just because he already have his escape tool, his E. If he gets fed, with Yoni and upgraded boots, he's kind of strong, I would say. So he definitely does have a decent amount of snowballing potential with little tempo as well. So this gonna tone down a bit his armor, which means we can see half armor amount, he's gonna get less. So generally speaking, his duels, if assassins ambush him, he gonna more likely die, but usually he has the safety of his Trinity Force HP, so too concerning this won't be, but still he gonna be more vulnerable, especially to lethality champs. Now, a more notable change is at all ranks, fewer players are Q maxing obviously, so Q gonna cost 20 mana, which means Presence of Mind will be less so much of a necessity, I believe. So people could perhaps also go for Triumph for the other rune, the healing rune of minions, so you have a bit more flexibility on what you can do with your mana cost. Maybe we'll see some poking Fiora players with Shin perhaps. The idea is that they wanna buff Fiora, but not too much, so in some way they are um, making a convenient buff which just allows her to Q spam, Q poke, um, while at the same time she kind of manages her mana. This is especially good later on in the side lane, where if you overly spam your mana on towers, just to destroy them quickly. Maybe if you don't have enough mana for combat, because it costs 40 mana before, then you may have a bit less potential for duels that are a bit more extended, so you have more uptime before you have to recap. So it's seen as a nice buff that just allows Fiora to pressure more. Garen, crit Garen by rampaging around, so the idea is that they nerf Garen a little bit, mainly in terms of crit. I think in low elo it been kind of OP, in high elo sometimes it was annoying, because I feel like when I played Yone for example, if Garen was fed, I felt like he just did nothing, he just pinned on you and oured you. So I think like crit Garen can be sometimes scary if he gets overfed. I think it's scarier in lower ranks though. His scaling, it was also kind of interesting, but now his scaling is kind of cooked, because that's almost like a basically like Randuin's damage almost. It's 25%, not 13, but almost like Randuin's amount of damage reduction on crit. So this is generally seen as a quite huge nerf towards his crit scaling. No, he did actually get some nice things, such as Axiom Mark and obviously Last Stand, which do increase his ore damage, so that's why they kind of also like want to tone down his E damage, plus plants, right? Now, Gwen gets an adjustments, basically they make her early game way more fun, her scaling somewhat worse obviously, little bit less damage towards monsters, so she's a bit less flexible in the jungle role, but maybe we'll still see some jungle Gwen, just because like her Q also kinda gets a final sip damage, so she gets extra 10. Later on it gonna be obviously later on it's also gonna be like 10, and the maximum damage also gonna increase from by 10. So the AP ratio is the same, so your short rates are a teensy bit better on Q, and so the final snip does more, right? So if you need at least like 4 snips, then I assume, or is it like the final snip of any snips, or you have to have 4 stacks, whatever. Bonus resistances are a bit higher earlier on, later on they are a bit lower in terms of flat value and percentage, but this is fine, because if you can smash through your early game by having a bit more stats from W, you don't need more scaling armor and more, it's been already kind of OP. So basically the idea is that scaling wise, surely it's gonna be worse, but like if you can survive, scale, the thing is you will not rely too much on this armor and more later on, so it's kind of like the type of buff that she gets to secure her scaling, to make her more potent early on, then she can just hard stomp once she scales. The same logic applies to her E, get fed enough, get the lead, and once you scale you're too strong anyways, so it's nice to have some early game power. Cooldown again reduced by 1 second, and so right now it doesn't scale up to 65%, it's 50% at all ranks, which makes her way more potent early on. So if you use your E, you basic attack someone, it goes down to 6 seconds at one point. Now the on hit damage is also a bit lower by 3 than the flat value. So it does actually scale up to 20, so it does scale up to some extent, in terms of DPS value, so 5 more later on, same AP ratio. So you're gonna have a more pressure early on, definitely matters a lot into skill shot matchups, because like, as if now, if it goes down to 6 seconds, think about Aatrox's cooldown, think about Ornn's W cooldown, so you get to, generally speaking, pressure way more. In fact, just to put things in a good perspective, perhaps, you see, for example, I type Ornn fandom. Ornn's W has how much cooldown, guys? 12? Am I correct? I think something like 12, right? Now, 12, right? Now you can get 2 E's off right now. Meantime, it gets 1 W off. So champions like Ornn, they have, generally speaking, less space to use their ability properly at higher efficiency, just because of the cooldown decrease, as an example. But we could also add in Aatrox, we could also add in like Renekton, whatever. So your pressure gonna be higher, which allows you to wave manage a little bit better with this E. So generally speaking, like it's gonna be kind of nice, and note, even if you basic attack a minion, it's still gonna reduce the cooldown. So it's generally seen as a nice thing, because if you E away from something, You basically attack a minion, it goes down to 6 seconds. For example, you want to like, don't know, like E away from a second, 8. It could be anything, you know, like it could be many things that have a Shani, you know, like whatever, you feel me? And you could pressure way more, like it could be anything really. Jaxi, maybe if you get to, if you click in time right, then Jax is, E goes up to 17.5 seconds cooldown. This will be 6 cooldown, so you can get more than 2 E's off. Actually, like 2 E's off, then approximately soon his, obviously his E gonna come up, so just saying that he will have a nicer amount of space to play around certain champions than before. Needle work. Okay, damage per needle. So the damage per needle is also a little bit lower by 5. 2% less, but the initial slow gonna be 60% at all ranks, which is very fucking high, so I think jungle Gwen will be still kind of a thing. Now the reduced slow 15 to 20 to 25% at all ranks, right? So the idea is that your engage will be way nicer, especially gonna be nice against ranged champs or any champs that are more likely to perhaps slip out, because now they have less so much space to do so, so you're gonna be way more dangerous even after level 6. Now the damage gonna be notably lower because it does slow harder, so it means that against champs where you need a bit more damage to like all in them to get the kill, right, and do like some skill checks, you will have less damage, but against squishy champs this is always seen as a nice thing. I would say like if you need to like gap close in towards something, like for example Aatrox will have a harder time to position for his Qs, so even against like bruisers it will seem to be generally as a nice change. Jarvan, extra 10 damage on his Q, extra 5%. Agorin loves this, so basically this means that he will have a, you know, just generally a little bit more damage, a little bit of a faster clear. And the idea behind this buff is, I do suppose, like, it does help because the ability also lowers armor if you think about it. So if you have more cooldown, it becomes spammy. You're gonna have a bit more DPS. Should prevent this buff from only making him pro-viable, okay? So yeah, I think we're gonna see way more Jarvans, passive scaling increase. Obviously a bit scary to buff his passive, right? So from 4.44%, the crit chance scaling gonna be a bit higher as we can visually see, and the attack speed scaling will be a bit higher, as it goes down to same value, but later on it's gonna be by 0.10% per 1% critical chance and 0. So the attack speed scaling and the crit scaling will be higher, so if you go rapid fire you get more damage, while the out of it, because it provides both crit and attack speed as an example. Maybe we will see maybe Yuntal while the arrows Jhin. I'm not even kidding. Giga scaling, who knows? Let me test it out yourself, stack it up, see how it feels like. Halo Blades Jhin, mark my words, the attack speed scaling. The attack speed scaling is also a little bit higher. Maybe some Yunta Hobjin, maybe? Who's up to that? A bit of a Jinx or nerf. So 10% less, and also 25 less. So generally speaking, they're also like aiming to hurt Jinx's DPS a little bit, because their art does actually hurt if people go low enough. I think this will mess up a bit with her laning phase. It is a bit. It's less likely that she's gonna find exactly like damage value, because did you guys notice that often this 25 damage does matter a lot, I would say, especially the 10% damage, because often Jinx players kill someone, but it's not that much of an overkill, it's a very slight overkill, so sometimes just because this light nerf you will lose some kills, so you also have to get used to this. Yeah, I mean, also like the target's missing HP is the same-ish, so you gotta get used to this as well. More armor on KS base here, health regeneration is higher by 0.5, a bit better into pokes, a bit better in all-ins with this extra armor. And so like the cooldown is a bit lower by 10, so it's more matching to support ultimate cooldowns. Not completely, because they usually gonna have cooldown items, but again, like if your team is more hyperactive, then you can a bit more likely commit or perhaps defend yourself against certain champs. Many ultimates have, by the way, 120 cooldown, so this is gonna even up to that. 10 less damage on Karma, the champ is annoying. This just means that her pose gonna be a bit worse, you know. Slipper, what is this? Q-Max, weakening her early laning phase while also nerfing Slipper. OP E-Max build by being a bit more potent nerf at lower ranks, yeah. I mean, it's been fucking annoying to be blasted, especially in top lane perma by Inner Flame, you know, that has a low cooldown slow, so yeah, annoying enough, 10 less damage, not a lot to talk about. Um, Bonus damage from his passive, it's gonna be 3 more early on, not a lot, doesn't matter too much, then later on it's gonna be 20 more. The AD ratio gonna be higher by 10%, so basically a scaling buff. And he finally has a nicer AD ratio, literally it has 40% instead of 20. 20 was kind of a joke, flat value is the same. So you're gonna be slightly more dangerous Kha'Zix than usual. And sometimes, often it feels like on Kha'Zix you just literally need that slight more damage to kill someone. So in those case scenarios I think this will help. Perhaps if you have your Aura Evolve, this helps a bit more in terms of DPS, or if you have Aura up, this will matter more. In a early game duel, you're still gonna lose against that Udyr, so it doesn't mean that you get to kill anyone, it just means that if you have Aura up, I think that's where it will be a bit more better potentially. Cooldown on E gonna be a bit lower, helps a bit with her clear, AP ratio gonna be higher with 10%, so she's gonna poke a little more often with her E, and a little bit more potently. Especially if you have some cooldown, this can feel to be kinda nice, because you'll get to be a bit more sticky as well. E cooldown decrease. So it's kind of funny, because like Lucian's E had at the time 14 cooldown around the release, then it went up to 18 I think, or 19 actually. Then it went up to 21, and now it went down to 19, and now it goes down to 16. So it means that, again, like his E, when you hit your basic attacks, they also reduce Lucian's E cooldown, which generally speaking means that I think this will maybe open up more opportunities for Lucian mid-top. Just because like you're gonna max your E after your Q, and so you have 3 more seconds plus the amount you reduce by basicing minions or champions with your passive. So this generally speaking allows you to pressure way more often than before by having a 3-second cooldown difference. So often this means that you'll have a bit more space, I would say, to play around certain abilities that perhaps have a cooldown that you could outmatch. So this also gonna give you an extra layer of safety because it does reset faster, so you're less so threatened by potential all-ins. Armor growth lowered, so it's more burstable, but his bonus critical damage is increased by 25% on Q, so maybe for real the E buffs are finally good enough to justify crit E, because people have been playing crit E, people said it was a bait, build on E to go crit, then so what happens, the Riot is buffing it again, so maybe we will see some Yuntal, i.e. something Halo Blades, Mastery players I would assume, smashing around. Naafiri gets a change, so health, holy fuck, that's 15 less, armor growth is also less, so you're gonna be way less durable, base AD attack damage is also less, AD growth is also less, holy. So base stats are heavily nerfed because you're gonna get something juicy, right? Max pack mates 2.2/3, way more, it's gonna go up to 5 from 1, 9, So his scaling pack mate's gonna be more, so I do suppose he can take down maybe Drakes a bit faster. Pack mate damage gonna be 10, later on 20, but the AD ratio gonna be lower. Pack mate health growth gonna be decreased by 3. Pack mate armor and more growth gonna be also decreased. Pack mate, so reduced AoE taken is the same-ish as it looks like. It's 55%, 76, 1 to 14. Pack mate reduced damage from towers, 25%, 50%. Wait, they also take reduced damage from towers, huh? So they're less likely to die. What was the real monster? Pack mates now deal 165 damage to monsters. Pack mates taunt duration 2 seconds, I mean, that's just great, because I do suppose like this will make Naafiri a way better jungler than, right? Yeah, I think he will be a jungler, because it looks like a jungler, but somehow he wasn't a jungler, right? But the damage to minions is also increased on his Q, which will give him a really nice wave killer. So he's kind of a mid laner as well, than or what. So his wave killer gonna be way better, which just simply allows him to push in the wave more easily. Simpler, lost in the pack. Naafiri and her pack mates gain 1 second of untargetability on cast, so basically like a Fizzy bonus AD. So they get like some bonus AD, 20, so 20% bonus AD. This is now granted on cast extra pack mates 2 instead of 3, 4. Okay, buff duration 5 seconds, so you're gonna get 20% of his AD. So So it does get a buff, but only for 5 seconds, which is good enough for a all-in, you know, because mid lane is not a very long lane. Or even if you're ganking as a jungler, 5 seconds should be enough. Bonus move speed, 70 to 100%, decaying over 4 seconds, reduced upon taking damage. 20 to 30% for 5 seconds. No, this is now granted on cast. Obviously, do get some speed, but it's not decaying, right? So it's not a lot, but it's still something that's significant enough to gank as a jungler. So maybe Naafiri jungle will be, I mean even mid lane will be more decent. And the cooldown will be 20, goes down to 18, mana cost lowered, which is nice. Half pack no longer grants Naafiri a shield, pulse of vision, no resets, okay. And pack mate will no longer gain, okay. So, Hound's Pursuit. Teaching an old dog new tricks. If Naafiri scores a takedown within 7 seconds, she reveals nearby enemies and can recast this ability once. The second cast grants her a shield, you know, for 3 seconds. Not a lot, but it's still something. And so the cooldown will be way higher from 22. Obviously, it's gonna go up to 110, 95, 80. The mana cost will be higher, so it's gonna go up to 100. The range gonna be always 900, so you don't need to scale a lot until you have enough reach. Now, damage. So what do we get in terms of damage? Right, so like the damage will be way higher, so the bonus AD ratio 10% per packmate. So you also get something per packmate. So this is gonna be his dash actually, right? So it goes up to 150 from 30. The scaling gonna be up by 40%, and it's gonna be up by 10%. You can run. This ability is no longer blockable, which is perfect because it's kind of weird because like Diana can dash into champions. Like it was such a weird limitation. Now I get it, it's a point and click dash and it's kind of long range, but there are abilities like this in game. I mean, obviously now it's an ultimate, and Vice Hour is also point and click as an example. That also gives unstoppable. Now this one doesn't give unstoppable, so it's still cancelable by CC, but at least it cannot be face tanked, which does help a lot, because if a Taric, Brown, whatever, like it's kind of weird because like you don't want to target someone like that as an example, you know, like specifically some tanks just gonna like cut you off, you know. And not only that people will have CC, but also like if this is blockable, it's very bad actually. Big dogs only. This ability can no longer be cast, I guess, in case you misclick, but why would this matter? Maybe anti-misclick, so maybe it would be nice if it would be still castable on monsters, so sometimes you get to disengage, but I guess you already have your W for that, but still. So I like this. It's basically like a Fizz. I loved Fizz in the past. It's just he's kind of dog shit now, but this gives maybe the same-ish Fizz feeling. So maybe it's kind of worth a try, definitely. See like the range, the damage, all that. Obviously the cooldown gonna be kind of long, but you know, it's probably worth a shot. Now, cap monster health damage gonna be a bit higher, 25 more, so Poppy will be more of a jungler. Cause like the idea with Poppy is that as a support, she's a counter pick. As a jungler, she's very annoying, so I kind of don't like the idea, you know. Top and support are acceptable states, that's what Riot Games says. And it's kind of fun to face Poppy top, but Poppy jungle is very unfun as well. I just don't know why does this champion get jungle buffs. It's a very unfun jungler to face, but it's definitely gonna help her with her clears, and I think she will be more frequent. It's just like a very annoying champion, honestly. Singed, basic attack speed increased. This is equivalent to gaining 12% AS at level holy. It's just gonna bang, bang, bang people. You're gonna have to stack Conqueror actually. Respect the dips. If minions who die to another minion while affected by poison, Trailsinged gets the kill credit. So that's perfect because like it's inconsistent. So if you're not proxying, it's inconsistent to CS as Singed, and often you have to rely on proxy strats. Now this will help laning a bit more. Now, it will not give you the kill credit if a tower kills it. That would be nicer. It doesn't give you the kill credit that way, but this definitely helps a lot, because often when you're trading in lane, if you don't get to proxy easily, randomly you don't get CS, you're less likely to recall on Swifties, Blasting Wand, what the fuck ever is meta, you know, Singe to build. So this is a huge quality of life change. Izzy gets a slight nerf, obviously. Nothing really else gets nerfed, it's just like a 5% nerf actually. In terms of AP scaling, it doesn't really matter a lot, honestly. He gets a 30 extra damage, so this will make his solo laning a bit better. The explosion damage will be worse, this matters more on bot lane. So his AoE is not too strong, his equal damage will be higher by 5, because I feel like it's shit low, and the 5% extra, which just generally helps him to have a bit more of a potent all-in. Or mom, it gets a 10 second, then another 10 second at 11, and that like later on, so 20 at level 16. So this just generally helps him to, just to get those R stuff a bit more frequently. I would just say like kind of nice changes to allow him to have this aura a bit faster, up to pressure a bit more armor on Twisted Fate, because he does actually get chunked quite hard, so this will help him a little bit, not like too much, so he's not like way too viable on top or as an ADC. Maybe we will see some ADC TF, but I feel like mainly it's gonna help him mid lane, because I do feel like he gets kinda spanked by some AD matchups, right? It can hurt. Now Syndra does get a nice Q buff, so early on it's only 4, which you will barely feel, but later on it's gonna be 12, which is more significant because later on you have more cooldown, you have more points in it, it's gonna generally become more spammy, so this is seen as a nice little Syndra buff. If Jarvan gets buffed, I guess into capped monster health damage, it's gonna be 300, and now it's gonna go down to 70, 105, 140, 170, 110. So this is gonna hard nerf Yorick in the jungle, especially when he takes down bigger camps. Obviously this is gonna hurt Yorick top as well, because they already nerfed his jungle clear before, now they're nerfing him again. So if he wants to solo Void Grabs, he will be less potent at doing so even as a top laner, so sometimes it sucks to be you as a Yorick top player, because people have been using him in a more fun role jungle. But now he gets nerfed, and this does affect top lane as well, because sometimes you're heralding or fucking solo baroning or cheesing a baron or something, so this does cut a lot of your DPS, I would say. Even if you have like your Emax, it's still gonna be 90 less, so huge nerfs. Grudge gets a buff, seen to be as a nice thing, so people do actually just, again, like they build or Dominix on Assassins, because there's like a 10% damage, armor pen diff. And now I think there will be more Grudge as well. Also, it provides less haste, but still, it's gonna be perhaps a bit more popular. Would the players are happy? 200 less, it was very expensive. Gain bonus health equal to 10% of bonus health from items. Okay, gain bonus health equal to 10%, so 2% more and 200 less. So I guess we're gonna see more Mundos, more Sejuani is building this. Provides a bit more HP cost less. So champions that build it now, they're gonna build it, at a higher efficiency. And maybe it will open up some new champs that build it, but maybe Skarner if anything, but lane swap, start time, 0 dot, so 5 seconds more. End of time on top lane, it's 3 minutes. End of time in mid lane, 15. Minion XP penalty, 24%, alert improvements. Yeah, so like supports get to roam more easily then, right? It's the idea. I mean, yeah, 215 mid lane and 3. Good. The support players really have to remember this. Cold lead detection time 14 minutes, 6 minutes. Oh, what? New note objective bounty timing unchanged at 40 minutes. Wait, really? Wait, really? Bounty suppression by lead severity 30, so from 0 to 20, 30, 60, 90, 100%. Bounty suppression by lead severity. So I guess there will be more combat angles, so there will be less FF at 15 mentals, I guess. Increase attack and form threshold by 10%. What does this even mean? He overshot with the tower dive adjustments to attack him from selection, so this patch we are adjusting calculation variations that can actually exist in games for solo people increase attack. Right. Arena, but this is just a bit different from League. Base attack speed cap 6.0 and Callisto now gains 1% attack speed every 4% attack she has in excess for her. This helps, so I guess this is a nerf but a buff. Nerf but the buff as well. It's kind of weird that she specifically gets limited because of her E mechanic. Because like if you like throw in 10 spears in 1 second, then they're gonna hurt. Guest of Honor. Just basically arena changes here and there. Swift Play, Baron, Mythic Shop, don't buy shit like that. Sanctum and Quantum Galaxy Slayer with the delay option, Nusa, Mordekaiser, we're going to extend Quantum until the next banner into location. Prestige Battle, like, oh, holy fuck, Black Rose beat Black Rose arrival, some other stuff, now some music change, and just everyone can spot. Bug fixes, fix an issue, caused teleporting to mid-top trigger lane swap penalty, fix an issue, caused Cassante W to fizzle out when attempting to channel as grounding was ended. I mean, it doesn't only fizzle as then, but okay. That's just weird, okay, but still fine. Fix an issue that caused Fiddlesticks effigy to trigger. Oh shit, yeah, it sucks. Fix an issue that caused Jack of all trades to not add stat correctly to Yunta while they're crit stats. That's good. Fix an issue that caused Honor level 5 player to not display. Fix an issue that caused this and the passive to not trigger lanes of detection. Fix an issue that caused Honor Rika display. Fix an issue that install voracious clones. Fix an issue that caused junglers to trigger veins. Ah, yeah, of course. Fix an issue that caused the void rift scutter to not grant vision bubble. Yeah, but I had that bug. And I was like, does that not work that way? But it should, you know? Fix an issue where right-clicking Herald while teleporting would cancel teleport. Fix an issue where Elias or could be cast without the effect when Dream Dust was expiring. Fix an issue where Massy Snare would cause debug text to appear for debuff. Fix an issue that caused Lucian second shot passive when inconsistently proper. Oh, that sucked. Fix an issue that allowed Twitch to do maximum stack damage on low stack targets if using E1 passive stacks were exposed. What? Oh, maximum damage, so that shouldn't work like that. Fix an issue where Urgot W could cause attackant to reset improperly. Fix an issue where Trapson gets spotted by Nexus turrets after respawning. Fix an issue where Viego would transform back from Mel ability damage would decrease and smite would only deal 3. That's a specific buff. Fix an issue where Mel basic attacks would disable in Alice W. Fix an issue performance, sometimes dropping custom games. Ambessa passive could ignore dodge blind. Really? Fix an issue where Victor's evolutions could be grayed out. Fix an issue where High Noon's Victor Homeguard SFX would prepare. Fix an issue where some debug text would display on the Nemesis quests. Fix an issue where Cassante EQW combo could cause great. Because it was fucking cancelling and it gave me fucking anxiety. Like, what the hell? Fix an issue where attempting to attack move while rooted snared would sometimes cause the champion to be. Yeah, I had that experience. Fix an issue move commands while snared rooted sometimes fix the bug players anonymize names to do not appear in rank select chat for joining. What the fuck does anonymize means? Fix the practice tool if its option would not reset after using the reset game. Fix it anyway. Utility boots would not function correctly. Practice tool bug where clones would deal 0 damage to target dummy. Fix practice tool bug, I guess. Arena bug fixes, skins, chromas, Kane. Rakan Sayakiana. Let's see what are the discounted skins though, if anything. These are kind of shitty skins though. There are some good ones. I really love this. Have one skill smaller. Some good skins here and there. Alright, that's it for now guys. Have a nice day and see y'all in the next video.